so happy we alive.
It's traditionally been thought of, as you know, as the most complex and the most erudite and the most difficult to understand and relate to. Well, this one person, kind of like the Rosette Stone, has taken as his life work, in addition to being a legendary jazz musician himself, he's taken it upon himself to bring jazz to the masses. And I don't know of any other person in the world who has done so much to take an art form and translate it and spend his whole life energy, if you will, communicating that to the masses. And I'm sure that not just in Louisville, Kentucky, but all over the world, there's people here who are grateful for what Jamey Aebersold has done. And so this evening, we're lucky to be in the very den of creativity itself, the office of Jamey Aebersold. And with no further introduction, this is Jamey. He's working hard at his desk, as you can see. You have quite a bit going on here, Jamey. I would say
there's always a lot going on. Always a lot going on. And
I'm just wondering. Just recently, there was a big gala honoring Jamey that we're going to be showing throughout this interview, and I'm just wondering, as you think back over the years, Jamey, I know that you started out with your father teaching the banjo, was it? Mm-hmm. And how did you get from there to where you are today?
One step after another. My brother started playing the piano, I think, when I was about 4 years old. He was 8, and I thought it would be great to play the piano. You know, there was no TV, no video, no CDs, no MP3s. Life was different. So to play the piano was a challenge. So I started playing the piano at 5, and I took lessons for about 5 years. And then my piano teacher fired me because I didn't want to practice an hour a day, and I think my mom was tired of fighting with me over the practice sessions. So I made the natural switch, as I say, to tenor banjo. That's what my dad played. So I played the banjo and took lessons in Louisville for a while. And
banjo lessons?
Banjo lessons, yeah.
Really?
Over at Shackleton's on 4th Street.
Uh-huh.
Doc Eastwood was the teacher at the time, and he loved my banjo. It was a gold-plated Vega that I think my dad bought in about 1927. Pretty heavy thing for a 12-year-old, 11-year-old boy to be lugging on the bus over to Louisville and up 4th Street. But I did it. And my brother was playing alto saxophone by that time, so I got interested in that. And about age 12, I think I joined the 6th grade band, started playing saxophone.
And that was here in New Albany?
Yeah, that was right up the street at Silver Street Elementary. Yeah.
Okay.
That's where my son went to school and where my dad went to school, as a matter of fact.
And that's where you still are. Is this the same house that your father?
No, I live about a block from where I was raised.
I see.
My dad and all of us, we grew up right next to the florist on Silver Street.
Right.
And my brother, who runs the florist now, lives right behind it. And my other brother has since moved to Lexington.
Right.
And I moved down here, and I've been here since 1967.
I see. Can you describe to the people what it is that you do from this office? It's like there's a little factory, I feel like, going on outside of this door right here.
Yeah, I started off with one book and record back in 1967 called A New Approach to Jazz Improvisation. And I made the record first with just piano, bass, and drums up in Bloomington, Indiana. I remember the night we did it. We did it at a music store right down by the railroad tracks because they had a grand piano. And we had to stop one time, I think, because a train went by. And it was interfering with the noise on the tape. So after we did that recording, just background music, about 10 different tracks, I said, someone might buy this and not know what to do with it. So I better write a book. So then I struggled with the book for months. And finally came out with A New Approach to Jazz Improvisation. We didn't have a volume number on it because I didn't think there would ever be another one. And then a couple years later we put out another one, volume 2, volume 3. Now we're up to about 114.
No kidding.
Right.
And you were a student at Indiana University when you were there in Bloomington?
Yeah, I wanted to go to Manhattan School of Music. When I was in high school, I'd been reading Downbeat Magazine, Metronome, and New York was the place to be, so that's where I wanted to go to school. So I wrote the Manhattan School of Music, And they took forever to get back to me, and finally they got back to me and said, "Dear Mr. Aebersold, we do not offer the saxophone." So that was the end of that. And I said, "My, I wonder where I'm going to go to college here. You know, summer's upon us." And a friend of my brother's, I heard him say one time, he was going to Indiana University in Bloomington at the time. He said something about they're jamming in the halls all the time. So I said, well, if they're jamming in the halls, then I guess that's where I'm going. So I went there. And once I got there, I found out they didn't offer the saxophone either.
So you actually got into publishing, music publishing, when you were a student at IU?
No, that was after. That was about 5 years after I graduated. I graduated in '62.
I see.
But
did you graduate? Was it in music?
Yeah, it was in music. I got an undergraduate degree in woodwinds, which was you have to study the flute and the oboe, bassoon, clarinet, and they let me take saxophone lessons from the clarinet teacher. And then finally, in my last couple of years, I got to take lessons from Roger Pemberton, who was an actual saxophone teacher. And then it was a couple of years. And then I moved from there. Once I got out of school, I moved back down here to New Albany, about a block away, lived in an apartment for a couple of years, for about 4 years, I guess, maybe 5 years. And during that time, I put out the Volume 1 Play-A-Long record. And I can remember thinking back there, gee, just think if we sold one of these a day at $6.95 for an LP and a book. That'd be X amount of dollars, you know. That'd sure be nice.
And so were you publishing these yourself, or did? And
RCA up in Indianapolis pressed the records, and Lips Printing here in New Albany printed the booklet for me.
I see. And what's happened since then?
Well, since then times have changed. I don't teach privately anymore. I learned to play the bass in the meantime, and we've put out, like I said, about 114 play-along records. Back there in 1965, I was asked to do some summer jazz workshops up in Bloomington, Indiana. It was a big band camp, and I rehearsed the sax sectionals for 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon. And it was fun being around all those people. One year there was Cannonball Adderley was there, and Stan Kenton's orchestra was there. Donald Byrd on trumpet. A lot of famous people I got to meet and just sort of hang out with. Ron Carter was there. Attila Zola was there. Russ Garcia, the arranger, Oliver Nelson, the saxophone player, they were all there. So I got to teach at that camp for a couple of years. And finally, when we got into the early 70s, I encouraged the guy that was running the camp, Ken Morris, to let me start a combo camp. And we started combo camps, and this year will be about the 34th year of that.
What a jazz quartet, or what's a combo camp?
Well, a combo camp is where anybody comes that can play an instrument, and usually our lowest age is about 12 or 13 years old, all the way up to like 80. And if they've been playing a year or two, they're ready for our camp. And they come in, and we divide them up into groups of anywhere from 4 to about 8 or 9 people. They meet twice a day. Everybody attends theory class. We have about 4 different theory classes. They have a master class where all the saxophones get together in the afternoon, and they might break up into 8 or 10 smaller groups, and trumpets get together and so forth. This goes on to the University of Louisville. We have 2 weeks of it. You can choose which week you want to go to. It's be the first 2 weeks of July this year. And lunchtime, the majority of us eat over at Masterson's. They have a buffet.
So it's held at the Belknap campus?
Yeah, downtown, yeah. Yep.
Neat.
And we have live music at lunchtime and faculty concerts every night.
Wow. And so in addition to that, you're constantly going to schools and presenting jazz workshops?
Right. We do a lot of workshops. They're called, I don't know if you can see that or not.
Yes.
Jammin' with Jamey, and it's sponsored by the Arts Council of Southern Indiana. And we went to about 60 schools last year, and we're probably going to go to more than that this year.
Wow.
And we have a dual message. We play jazz with I play the saxophone, and Tyrone Wheeler plays the bass, Jonathan Higgins plays the drums, and Steve Cruz plays the piano. And oftentimes we use an electric piano there at the school. So we all get in my car, we've got the PA and all of our instruments and stuff, and go out and we play for about a half hour. I use my overhead projector and transparencies, talking about jazz and the history of jazz. And then we talk to them about not smoking and the dangers of smoking. So we put the two together. We have a health message in addition to a jazz message.
Do you mind talking a little bit about the history of jazz? I mean, most people don't know very much about the history of jazz.
I'm not a historian, but jazz seems to have started out in New Orleans about 100 years ago.